The thing about it, me and Adidas, is like, I could literally say anti-Semitic and they can't drop me. I could say anti-Semitic things and Adidas can't drop me.
Today, Adidas dropped him. That was Kanye West saying anti-Semitic things, and that's why Adidas dropped him. Their termination of their working relationship with Kanye West, effective immediately. It was not a decision made lightly. Their nearly 10-year partnership resulted in billions of dollars earned for the sportswear superpower and is likely to cost them around $250 million in this year's net income. But after weeks now of intense public scrutiny and mounting public pressure, the situation became unsustainable for Adidas. For more than a month, Kanye West, who goes by Ye these days, has used interviews and public appearances to preach hate against Jews. One by one, groups with which he fostered relationships have left him. That's except for one, the Republican Party. The Republican Party in America has been entirely silent on the issue, despite its role in elevating Kanye West to conservative superstardom. Now, the GOP also faces an issue of better late than never will come after Adidas' condemnation or greenlight Kanye West's toxic positions and anti-Semitism so that it further takes root inside GOP circles and the electorate. Joining us, Eddie Glaude, chair of the Department of African American Studies at Princeton University, as well as an MSNBC political analyst. I've done everything in my power. Eddie, I got fired from The View because they couldn't make me care about the Kardashians, and I think Kanye was married. He was married to Kim Kardashian. But here Kanye West is in the middle of this toxic stew of hate in America, being greenlit and emboldened by the silence and the complicity of the GOP. Where are we when Adidas has a higher standard for that which is morally repugnant than one of the two political parties in America?
Well, it reflects a kind of dire state of affairs. And we know that what's motivating Adidas beyond the moral concern, Nicole, is in fact their bottom line. They're worried about the effect on their broader profits, even as profitable as their relationship happened to be with Kanye West. What strikes me, though, is that there's a sense in which, for the Republican Party, if you consent to the very frame of their rhetoric, their basic commitments, if you consent to their beliefs, they are willing to tolerate anything, it seems to me. And this is just another example of the fact that if you believe what they believe, they will stand by you no matter what you say.
And if your haters are part of their coalition, you know, that was the best explanation Trump allies could give, that stand back and stand by was because he didn't want to lose the votes of the Proud Boys. Let me read from the LA Times reporting about what Kanye West. He's a huge platform. He has gazillion followers. And let me read about the damage he's doing right now. Brian Levin, director of the Center for the Study of Hate and Extremism at Cal State San Bernardino, said it's unusual and deeply troubling for such vitriolic hate speech to come from a celebrity of West's caliber. It brings with it the danger of emboldening others because his fame gives his ideas credibility. Kanye West's words have, quote, greater significance because of how high a celebrity he is and just how violent the language is, Levin said. This is not a subtle type of bigotry. It's more brazen, it's more violent, and it is unapologetic. That is that toxic stew of the right-wing culture of brazen anti-Semitism, enthusiastic violence, and a set of policies on the right that are enthusiastic about, as we've talked about in the last block, armed supporters protecting their space, literally and figuratively. How does Kanye sort of make an already really dicey climate, not just around the midterms, but around these issues, even scarier?
Well, you know, when we live in a celebrity culture, and we saw this with the 4 years of Donald Trump, right? When we live in a celebrity culture that's driven by social media, driven by Instagram and these kind of micro reality shows, it supercharges hate. When a celebrity picks it up, mouths it, gives it authority, justifies it, legitimizes it. So it's very clear what people like Kanye can do, their power, right? deployed for good or deployed for evil in some ways. So I think we have to be clear about how celebrity distorts and disfigures in interesting sorts of ways how democracy works, how deliberation works. But it's also interesting to me, Nicole, in that it's the way in which whiteness, ironically, even with Kanye, is consolidating itself, right, in relation to, because anti-Semitism, alongside of White Lives Matter, all of this is bound up with the crisis of a particular kind of identity, and how certain communities are the objects of it, right, the objects of the violence. There's a reason why Tree of Life and Buffalo and El Paso are all related. It has something to do with the crisis of a particular understanding of white identity, and you don't have to be white to participate in it. That's the complexity and irony of it, it seems to me.
Claire, when we look at sort of protecting everybody from the most sort of virulent strains of extremism and hatred, we used to be able to count on the leaders of the parties to referee the most odious content, right? And it mattered not because the leaders of the Republican Party really matter, but it served as refereeing what was acceptable and what was not, where the imaginary lines are. With their complicity with the Access Hollywood tape and good people on both sides of the KKK rally, the Republicans have abandoned any role of refereeing. And when you see the replacement theory show up in an alleged mass shooter's manifesto, when you see Kanye West show up on Tucker Carlson and elected Republican leaders are there the very next night, that they are greenlighting this mainstreaming of hatred and extremism, it seems to me that it becomes a near impossible effort to counter the extremism. How do you do it with just one of the country's two political parties?
Yeah, it's a real head scratcher. Does Rupert Murdoch think it's okay to put Kanye West on Fox, who has just said that he's proud of being an anti-Semite, DEFCON to the Jews? They can't drop me when I say anti-Semitic things. Is he okay with that? And let's take a walk down the path of Marco Rubio's brain. He's got a couple of weeks before an election in Florida. There is a huge Jewish vote in Florida. Now think about what he's thinking about right now. I'm thinking like a candidate. This guy just does this. Now, is he more worried about the racist vote, or is he more worried about the Jewish vote? It's pretty clear to me he's more worried about the racist vote, that he is more worried about the people that are, slavish in their devotion to Donald Trump and all the hate that he spewed all that time than he is to the Jewish people he represents in the Senate. I just think this is startling. I can't imagine not rushing to a podium if this had happened to me in a similar circumstances and immediately condemning Kanye West and all that he represented with that speech. And it is just really hard for me to figure how these folks can look the other way when this is this bold, full of this much hate.